The American general who late today declared America's longest war was now over after nearly 20 years. The last C-17 lifted off from Kabul, Afghanistan at 3:29 Eastern Time, saying every single U.S. service member is now out of Afghanistan. General Frank McKenzie, the commander of U.S. Central Command, saying there is a lot of heartbreak that they did not get everybody out. There are still some Americans there, and there are many Afghan allies who had hoped to get out. More than 123,000 civilians were airlifted out since August 14th, including 6,000 Americans, and flights taking off until the end. The last one taking off, as I said, 3:29 p.m. Eastern, which in Kabul was 1 minute to midnight before that August 31st deadline set by President Biden. General McKenzie saying the final chapter is perhaps one of the most painful, with the loss of those 13 U.S. service members. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell was in Afghanistan when the Taliban was pushed out in 2001. Tonight, the Taliban back in control. And Ian this evening, and the American general who was asked to reflect on the reality that the U.S. now leaves behind and the potential threats ahead.
With the final flights out of Kabul late today, four-star Marine General Frank McKenzie saying America's longest war was over after almost 20 years.
The last C-17 lifted off from Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 30th this afternoon at 3:29 p.m. East Coast time. And the last manned aircraft is now clearing the airspace above Afghanistan.
Nearly 20 years since the attacks of 9/11 and the killing of Osama bin Laden in 2011. Troops staying on the ground for another decade. The general speaking of the human cost of war. The American service members lost too.
It was not a cheap mission. The cost was 2,461 U.S. service members and civilians killed, and more than 20,000 who were injured. Sadly, that includes 13 U.S. service members who were killed last week by an ISIS-K suicide bomber.
He spoke of this painful loss of the service members this week and was asked about the remaining Americans and Afghan allies and the interpreters who helped the U.S. over the years.
Look, there's a lot of heartbreak associated with this departure. We did not get everybody out that we wanted to get out.
The general saying this final chapter was perhaps one of the most painful. The crowds outside the gate and the loss of the 13 service members. When asked about the U.S. servicemen and women that were in Afghanistan, he said this.
Every single U.S. service member is now out of Afghanistan. I can say that with 100% certainty.
And General McKenzie, who did multiple tours in Afghanistan, was asked about leaving this country to Taliban control.
I was very conflicted, actually. But right now, I'm pretty much consumed with the operational task at hand.
The general, very matter of fact, late today, but it is a profound day for this country nearly 20 years later. Ian Pannell with us live from Doha, Qatar tonight. And Ian, the general mentioned the number of Americans left behind is now in the low hundreds. He said there will still be efforts to get Americans out. He also said the efforts to get out Afghan allies will continue. But of course, we know the Taliban is back in control. How is this going to work in the weeks, the months, and perhaps the years to come?
Yeah, that's right. The Taliban is in control of the country. Apart from the president's devices, Kay, we've seen them at the airport. They've issued a statement saying the Americans have left. Afghanistan is independent. The sound of gunfire in the air. The UN calling for safe passage for Americans and Afghans, but few on the ground believe they'll honor that. David?
Ian Pannell, our thanks to you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.